Corey Hagan and Matt Kenzie back with you here at the Onyx Ice Arena on OaklandHockey.org. We're going to talk a little bit about expectations here for the upcoming season for Oakland as they open up against Western Michigan. They have a couple of games against Kent State. Thoughts on just expectations?
Well, definitely there's a lot of expectations, I think, for this team. They're a team that I think a lot of people think can go far. We believe that they can go far. We have about 11 new rookies that are coming in this season, but I think our forwards are definitely able to bring that presence of what to do and what not to do, and I think that, as we go along, we're going to see who wants to step up and who wants it, but for the most part, seeing these kids, while they've been on the ice, I think this team can potentially be a big threat this year come start time.
Just have to make sure there's no slip-ups early on. I mean, you're
yeah, for sure.
Around the league, and Dearborn's going to be better. Eastern Michigan's going to be better. Davenport, Adrian, all going to be better. Kent State, and then you have their former coach, assistant coach, and Nick Tomczak, now coaching in Rochester College, and we'll be playing them 3 times this season for the key to the city. And we also have 5 games against Davenport for the Good Luck Duck, and those are all going to be important games. And also Oakland hosting the GLCHL playoffs here at the Onyx Ice Arena at the end of the season. So looking around this locker room, looking at forwards, who's some of the guys that you feel need to step up a little bit?
Well, one thing for sure, like you said, it's going to be a challenge of the season. There's no doubt about that with what they have to go through with the schedule. But definitely, I think one thing that everybody on this team needs to know, especially the seniors, is that you got to play a full 60 minutes. And I think Coach Gordy will emphasize that this year. That's one thing he wants to work on. Tough losses last year, especially down in Athens, Ohio, and then when we went to Chicago for those state finals and everything. So I think all these forwards and all these defense know that one thing that they got to work on this year, you got to play the full 60 minutes, not stop and just do 40. And I think that will be emphasized and definitely be well adjusted come this season when it starts.
Also looking at goaltending expectations, Corey Hirschchuck will probably get the bulk of the play, but at the same time, Galasso, Munoz, they all have to be ready to go. And there's some 3-and-3 days this season where obviously one of those guys is going to have to go and help out. How important is that, and how do they get into the rotation successfully? You know what?
I'm not even going to lie. I kind of like this thing where Hirschchuck knows that he's got competition, and any time that you have a role, whether you're a forward or a goaltender, and you know that you have somebody that wants your position, that can sometimes help you to be a better player. And I think Hirschchuck knows that, and I think that's going to make him want to play and be a better goaltender this entire season. So I'm kind of interested in seeing how that goes, but if anybody can do it, I think he can do it.
Defensively, Austin Achachura's back. That's just a huge upgrade for the Grizzlies. We'll be putting him up with one of the top D-men on the team, and you'll also talk about Ian Jacobs in that category alongside a John Baker, and you will be talking about Cody Farber in that category.
Oh, for sure.
As well. He's a guy who can flat out play Cody Farber. And defensively, what are some of the things just to kind of help clear the lanes for the goaltenders and things like that you're going to be looking forward to this season?
Well, you just said it yourself, especially with Farber and Baker and all that. Definitely, I think Baker finally being able to play this season. He was injured pretty much the entire season last year. He got a few games where he could come in, and we saw what he brought. He brought a physical presence. He brought intimidation. He brought all that. Anytime he was ready to take a slap shot, he was right in position most of the time, and especially when there's somebody in front of the net, he's always there, and he's always working his butt off just to get the guy who's in front of the net away from our goaltender. So I'm interested with these defensemen, and especially with Baker come the start against Western.
Back to the forwards, when you look at a guy like a Drew Paris, he's the guy that I look at as kind of like my X factor. A Drew Paris guy can go in, we know he can score, we know he's a good player, we know you can throw him up with any of those top guys that you have, and he's going to perform well. What do you think about that?
He's what we call an all-around player. Whatever role that he's needed for, he'll shock you, surprise you, and go out and do it. Whether it's late in the game, at the beginning of the game, you never know what he's going to do. So I think as we go along in the season, I think other teams are going to start to pick up on that. But like you said, he's an X factor, and I really think that he could bring a lot to this team, and we're going to probably see some special things when he's out on the ice this season.
Speaking of that forward or defense, Mike Baker, he's a guy that can just flat out play as well.
Baker, we've seen it throughout these few years and everything. When Baker gets going, he brings presence to the team to where sometimes one player, when they play good, the rest of the team follows and they play good. I think that's one of the roles that Baker brings, and I think that it's definitely going to be something that if he's playing that role every night, you're going to see a heck of a game from this team.
Also, Patrick Smiates, another guy that you can look at that can put up some goals and he can score. He had a couple of beauty goals at the national tournament in Chicago, and another guy like a Drew Paris, a guy that's going to be able to contribute. There's a lot of guys who I can look around this locker room that we're in right now and say, yeah, he can be on the first line. He can be on the first line. They just have to perform up to what their potential is, though.
Yeah, they're the kind of players to where when the clock is kicking down, that they're going to take that extra step to make sure that they get that last shot. They're going to get through everybody. They're going to make sure that they're set up, and they're not going to choke when it comes down to 10 seconds. Can we get that playoff? They're going to go. They're going to do what they can do. And Smiates is and will be one of those players that'll continue on doing that, I think, and will be really better at it this year as well.
All right, Oakland and Western Michigan, Friday night, right here at the Onyx Ice Arena.
See you then.
On OaklandHockey.org, I'm Corey Haggett, and that's Matt Kenzie. We'll see you later.
See you later, guys.